YYC 超越集团成立于1974年，由叶享发、陈开荣夫妇携手创办。成立时的办公室坐落于吉隆坡铺路地区。在2018年初 ，YYC 总部正式搬迁到该区一栋5层楼高的大楼，并拥有超过800名员工。目前 ，YYC 在马来西亚的分行遍布在吉隆坡、雪兰莪、槟城和柔佛。2019年也扩展至新加坡。YYC 的经营理念和业绩表现，更被新加坡华侨银行 OCBC Bank 所赏识，注资成为策略伙伴。
为了把 YYC 推上另外一个高峰，我选择不再锁，而是转型。对我来讲，转型就是不断的学习，不断的创新，带更好的元素进来自己的公司，然后把公司做得更好、更强。
YYC 集团提供一站式的专业服务，包括会计、税务、审计、商学院、商业咨询等等。通过创新改革，我们成功培训了超过10万名企业家，并且获得各界企业家的认同。如今更拥有超过2万名客户。
YYC 不是只是一个会计公司，我们是一个企业医生。Your success is our success.
Yes, you can.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers. My name is Amanda Andrea, your host for today. Thank you very much for joining us here on the first episode of Malaysia Pennie's Tax Made Easy series. Now, tax challenges and disputes are expected to be substantial as a result of the pandemic, with issues around pandemic-related losses and the claiming of tax refunds. I'm really looking forward to the discussion with our speakers today, where we're going to dive into the corporate tax audit and the challenges that SME and business owners face when dealing with tax audit issues. Now let's welcome our main speaker, Chow from YYC. He has been in the taxation industry since 2005, hence his nickname, the Tax Guru. Zen, welcome to Tax Made Easy.
Hi everyone. Very good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Zen over here, and wow, it's so cool to see so many people, attending to today's talk show. Yeah. So, let me just briefly, introduce myself. My name is Zen. Yeah, probably some of you may have seen me before, on some TV shows, or maybe heard me before on some radio stations, doing some interview. Of course, I myself, I'm the tax executive director of YYC Group, as well as the head of tax. Yeah. So I've been doing tax for more than 15 years right now. So I would always say that, my income tax is my forte, because I also hold the income tax agent license. And well, apart from direct tax, income tax, I also do indirect tax, like last time it was GST, now SST. Yeah, so anything about tax, well, I think I have been doing it for the past 15 over years. Yeah, so yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Zen. Now, I know you've prepared a poll for our viewers today. Would you be able to share them a little bit more about it?
Yes. I actually have a question for everyone, you see, because today we're going to talk about how to handle a corporate tax issue. So my question here for everyone is that what is the best way that you think, to solve a tax audit or tax investigation issue? Now, you have some choices over here for you to choose from. Just use your gut feeling, think what would be the best way for you to solve your tax audit or investigation issue. Select one. We'll talk about that later. We'll discuss about this later.
Thank you, Zen. I'm a little bit disappointed because it says that hosts and panelists cannot vote, and I was about to vote. Fantastic. I'm actually quite looking forward to see what the results are. I hope most of them should be like what I think, well, we'll see later on. But ladies and gentlemen, to all who are watching, alongside Zen Chow today, we also have representatives from SMEs and business owners. They're here to share the challenges that they face by SMEs and business owners when it comes to tax audit. Now let's welcome Dato Looi from SME Association of Malaysia and Pennie, the CEO and founder of Homa to You. All right, are you guys able to see them? Okay. I will start with Pennie. Pennie is back online. Hi, Pennie. Pennie, could you give the audience a little bit of a brief on yourself?
Hi, Amanda. Hi, Jen. Hello, all. I saw on Facebook we have more than 100 hours audience already. My name is Pennie. I'm the founder and CEO of Homa. My company is actually doing a sustainable and provide home improvement products at affordable price. Thank you.
Fantastic. And do we have Dato Tony? He was here earlier. If we could have him online. Hi, Dato Tony. Can you tell our audience about yourself?
Jen, how are you, Pennie? How are you, everyone in the line now? So good, fantastic to join this Malaysia Guineas interviews and share about tax. I think now everyone want to know more about that. We have a very expert here, Jen Chow, will explain to you all. So myself is Tony Looi from this construction industry for more than 20 over years. I'm also a vice president from SME Malaysia. So hope to enjoy the show with you all. So stay tuned and please share and invite all your friends to come in to join us to know more about tax. What's tax issue, what question you can tax here. So we have an expert here. I help you to question out, throw the question to Jen, let him to explain to you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Malaysia Guinea. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, what a beautiful introduction, Dato Tony. Thank you so much. Viewers, as Dato Tony has mentioned, please share, like, comment, because we absolutely love your interaction. And of course, now I'm seeing we've got over 130 people watching this. Thank you so much for this. We're really, really happy to see such a good engagement with all of you. Now, before I dive into the Q&As that have been gathered by our speakers, I have a general question that I would like to ask everyone. Okay, my question is, what do you think is the just one most common misconception amongst businesses when it comes to tax auditing in Malaysia? And now I'd love to hear everyone's opinions, but for sequence sake, Zen, can you please kick things off?
All right. Well, as a tax expert and as a tax practitioner that has been doing tax for so many years, now I would always say that the misconception that I've always heard from my clients, especially, they always think that, when there's a tax audit performed by the tax authority, which is the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia, they would always think whenever there's a tax audit coming, you definitely have to pay extra tax and penalty. I think that would be the biggest misconception, because you see, the duty of the Inland Revenue Board that comes in and audit is actually to ensure that everything is correct, everything is according to the tax rules, it's compliant. But it doesn't mean they're coming in to really take extra money from you. Seriously. I mean, if you have done everything correctly according to the tax law, no hanky-panky, no avoidance of tax, no evasion of tax, well, you may just end up, completing the tax audit without even paying an extra cent. So that would be the biggest misconception if you ask me.
Okay, fantastic. Now, Dato Tony, I know you've actually told me not to call you Dato Tony, so I'll start calling you Tony from now on. Tony, what do you think is one biggest misconception amongst businesses when it comes to tax auditing?
So I think now during this pandemic, everyone is facing very tough, and all the SMEs suffer. So including myself. So I think last year, our business is dropped. I think until I'm not IC, I just dropped my eye. But then I told my team that we need to pay installments early for the tax for next year normally. So, but this year, it seemed like usual. Last year, business dropped quite a lot, quite a big figure. So I think this year, we have a very good, another good beginnings is coming in, because now everyone is vaccinations. The business may be going to move it up again in coming 2-3 months later. So hopefully will be better than 2020. So I think in my side, I think I have a lot of questions, of course. So today, I think I will throw a question to Jen. What can SME company do to understand tax audit process better? Because more of them should be skilled or not prepared when it comes to tax process. So this is my question from my side of view, and from some SME. I think they are very interesting about this question that want to know more about that. Prepare it. So don't until last minute, I'm suffer. I don't know how to do. Then we're scared. Then it will suffer again. So let's Jen to get a good answer to our members, our fans in the live. Okay. So please share, and tag your friend coming in. So let's learn more about this information about tax. Thank you.
I think Zen and Tony definitely have something similar in terms of their answers, because people are basically not too prepared and they don't know what to expect. So they overthink in some ways. Pennie, what do you think? What's the biggest, most common misconception you think are amongst businesses when it comes to tax auditing in Malaysia?
Of course, being an SME, right? I think because we don't really have an expert, or we don't have the luxury of having an expert in our company, so we will always tend to think that tax and audit is a very, very complex process. So I don't know much about the tax, but I will always ask my account, okay, all these things, you please help us to resolve. So with having, a proper planning from the day one until, the audit is very important. So, don't until like last minute only plan. I think this is one of the things that can make the entire process become simple. Don't like wait until the end, then, this
Panic.
is what, panic and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for all your answers. Now we're going to begin our official Q&A, but let me remind you again, audience, I'm actually looking at the Malaysia Kini Facebook page. I can see your questions as well. I can see your interaction. So once again, thank you so much for that. Feel free to just ask away, because later on we're going to have a Q&A session, especially for all of you who are asking. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Now, Tony, I know you've mentioned that you've got so many questions, and I'm sure you've been, thinking about it all night. I'll let you start off on your question to Zen.
Yeah, as I mentioned just now, so a lot of fans and our members from SME, they're very suffers, and they're very limited of knowledge about tax. Okay, so they're always asking our association to know about more about tax, whatever. So for me, so I'm not a specialist in the tax agent. I don't know. I'm the businessman. I know how to making money. I know after making money, you have to pay for the tax to our governments. Okay, so my first question, what can SME company to do understand tax better, because most of them tend to be scared, are not prepared when it's come to the tax process. This is the most important thing that I think most of the fans in the life, they want to know about that. Thanks. This is my question for Jen. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So maybe just let me answer to Tony's question. Yeah, I agree. Tony, I really agree with you that, most SMEs, when it comes to tax audit, they will always find that, hey, this is like a very complex process, and especially when they got audited by the Inland Revenue Board, that make them even, more scared, because like what I was saying earlier, one of the biggest misconceptions that I've always heard is that, hey, the authority is coming, the Inland Revenue Board is coming, they're gonna take more tax from me, they're gonna make me pay penalty for that. So they'll be very scared, and then therefore they're also not prepared. So I've seen so many of my clients, coming to us and say, hey, what should I do now? What should I do now? They're going to take more money from me. They're going to tax me. They're going to penalize me. But no, that's one thing that I have to tell all the SMEs out there. Yeah, I understand that probably you don't have your internal resource. You don't have your internal expertise, to handle your tax audit. But well, rest assured that, there are a lot of professionals out there. Seriously, there are a lot of professionals out there that could really help you to handle. First thing first, don't be scared, don't be panicked, and do not just agree, do not just agree with whatever that the Inland Revenue Board say that you have understated or underpaid, do not agree right away. Bring it to your consultant, bring it to your accountant, tell them, hey, what are the issues that have been raised by the Inland Revenue Board? Is this really true? Am I really, making a mistake? Is this tax and penalty something that I really have to pay? Is there a way to solve that? Is there a way to, argue out with the Inland Revenue Board so that I can get this issue dropped? So always, stay calm. Bring your whatever tax audit letters that you have to your consultant, to your accountant, to your tax agent. Let them look at it for you, because not every issues are real issues. There are some issues that can be dropped, can be solved. So this is my advice, to all SMEs out there.
All right, That's great advice. Thank you very much, Zen. Pennie, your turn. What is a burning question that you have for Zen?
Okay, being a startup, right, we tend to face a lot of challenges on compliances due to limited resources. Like I've mentioned just now, we don't really have an expert that actually based in our office. So about the know-how also, we have like challenges. So we tend to rely, a lot of time, before the audit actually happens, we were only like, okay, this is a tax agent and the audit agent. So then it will be like final audit already. How can we actually prep ourselves earlier so that we can know that, all this have to be prepared earlier, or can we actually know that what kind of business nature that we have can actually get a special tax exemption and or qualify for any grants?
Yeah, very good question, Pennie. Now, I must agree that most of the time, because you do not have expert in your company, hence you tend to rely very much on your accountant, your auditor, your tax agents, to tell you more about, what really happened. But, somehow or rather, I'm not saying that all tax agents are not giving you updates, but there are really some tax agents out there that probably give you update on a very not frequent manner, I would say. Yeah, so you probably only tend to know certain things at the end of the year, or maybe, when everything has passed, then only you say, hey, there's actually such an update. How come I didn't know? So how do you, really keep yourself up to date? Well, I think the first thing that I probably want to say is that always follow Malaysia's Keenie's Tax Made Easy. Always watch our episode. Of course, you'll be, gaining more knowledge. You'll be knowing more about tax, and then somehow or rather, if you have heard of something, and then if your tax agent has not told you, you can then remind back your accountant, tell them that, hey, I heard about this, when I attend to the Malaysia's Keenie Tax Made Easy. So, hey, is this something that you want to tell me more? But of course, apart from that, I think it is very important also for your internal staff, your own internal account staff to, always upgrade their own skills, and knowledge by attending some seminars. There are a lot of free seminars out there. And, nowadays people are doing like Facebook Lives everywhere, and they're giving a lot of free knowledge. So, attend to all these free Facebook Live, free seminars, free webinars, to enhance your knowledge, at least get to know a little bit, things that if you would need to dive in deeper, discuss with your accountant, so that at least you have an idea of what kind of grant, what kind of incentive that you could get. Then you would miss out on all this. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the promotion as well, Zen. Fantastic. I love to hear that. Now, I have a question for you. It's not that intense. I don't think so. But I'll throw a curveball here, so hopefully you can answer. Okay, my question is simple. I just want to ask you, can you share with the audience and tell them how do they differentiate tax audit and investigation process? Like, what's the difference with these two?
All right. Now, I believe a lot of you have heard about tax audit as well as tax investigation. Well, they are very different. Now, there are two different takes. I mean, even though they're trying to achieve the same objective, but they're very different. The process is different. Of course, how to differentiate whether it's audit and investigation, the first thing is look at the letter that you receive. If it comes from the investigation branch, yes, it's an investigation. If it comes from a normal tax branch, then it's probably a tax audit. But what's the main difference between tax audit and tax investigation? Now, tax audit is a very routine process. Well, it is here, I mean, the Inland Revenue Board wants to ensure that you comply. The Inland Revenue Board wants to make sure that, you follow the tax rules. So it's a routine process that we do, like a random check that they will go through each taxpayers. But tax investigation, on the other hand, it's when the Inland Revenue Board suspect that you are actually evading tax. That means that they somehow have got certain information that, they suspect that you have evaded tax, hence they launch an investigation. And well, having said that, we know investigation is more serious. Yeah, having said it's more serious because tax audit, basically, they only look at your business records. They would take your financial statements, your general ledgers, your accounts, it's a very routine checking. But investigation, they will do more than that. Apart from taking your business records, they probably will also dig into the personal records of directors, of owners, of sole proprietor or partners of the partnership. They will look into your personal account as well, because their mindset is that you probably would have evaded tax. So they also want to look at your personal tax, personal financial affairs to see if there is any tax evasion. So, well, if you are, being investigated, yes, it's going to be more serious. But again, being investigated doesn't mean you definitely have done something wrong. Yeah, I mean, as long as you can prove that you have not done something wrong, you're still all right. You're still okay.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Zen. Not a very hard question, right? Pretty straightforward. I want to go back to Tony right now. So we've got time for another question from you, Tony. Do you have one more question for Zen?
Yes, my honor to have another one more question here. So the question is, evolving market is a new service will require practitioners to make significant investment in skill and technology, as well as to move away from the traditional practice model and develop a new way of operating. This innovation is essential to maintaining profitability in light of fee pressure on SME tax compliance and the need of provide other value-added service in order to grow a revenue. Some practitioners may choose to specialize in non-tax compliance service and move away from tax compliance service. In other cases, market consolidations may have smaller tax practices to achieve scale. Merger of the tax practices operating at the smaller end of the market may become increasingly common. In order to attract talents into the profession, it will be important that tax practices are profitable. What do you think about this, Jen?
Okay, wow, this is a very long one. Okay, I think there are quite a number of parts over here, but I remember the very last part is that it is very important for tax practices to be profitable. Totally agree. Well, because I'm doing tax, isn't it? Because I'm a tax practitioner. Of course, I want tax practice to be profitable to begin with. But I must agree to Dato told me that, many people are now moving away from, tax compliance. Now, what is tax compliance? Tax compliance is really about helping a client to compute the tax every year, submit the tax return every year to the Inland Revenue Board, just to ensure that they comply, with the yearly due dates, But you know what? This kind of work, it's a very routine work, But the fee, well, I must say it's definitely not on the high side, Therefore, it made the whole tax practice becoming a little bit of not so profitable. But now, what I would probably want to say is that, nowadays, we need to really look into tax. Why? Because tax now is on self-assessment system, which means you declare your tax, and once you have submitted, you deem it as final. You deem it as an official assessment. The Inland Revenue Board would not tell you whether you have done it correctly or wrong. They would not. They would just accept it. And after they've accepted it, the next thing they do is they do audit. And if they found that you have done a mistake, they penalize you. Wow, that means that you find yourself not having a chance to even ask the Inland Revenue Board, hey, have I done it correctly before I even submit? Because it's self-assessment. So therefore, when it comes to getting a tax agent, and if the tax agent only do the routine work, help you to submit, so that's the tax compliance work, and then of course the fee is rather low, you will somehow find that there is no avenue or there's no value added service provided by the tax practitioner to help you to really look into tax efficiency, to really ensure that everything is in order and everything is at the most tax efficient way. You claim what you're supposed to claim, you don't claim what you are not supposed to claim. But well, if you want that to happen, of course, if you want the tax practitioners to do this, of course, more time will be spent, more manpower, more work done. Obviously, the fee has to be higher. So one thing that the tax practitioner is now doing is they will try to invest into certain software, use software to complete jobs so that it's faster, use some tools, to help them to analyze the risk of every assessment just to ensure that everything is in order and it's at lowest risk. So I would say, as tax practitioner, we definitely want a more value-added service to be given to our client so that they are getting the most efficient tax. But at the same time, it definitely comes with a higher fee, because that involves more work. So I hope, as a tax practitioner, the whole tax industry can really go towards that way, so that the whole industry will be profitable.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Jen. Very good answer. So everyone, please say thanks to Jen, and please help to share Share as much as you can, and hope this information and tax knowledge will be improve your tax understanding. Okay, please share to all your friends.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
This is a very important thing. So I think from Amanda and Pennie, although from different angle of view and a different industry, and also a lot of questions going to us. So everyone, please help to share as much as you can to share this information and tax knowledge to everyone. Thank you, Jen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tony. And Pennie, we have time for you for your second question for Zen.
I also want to be like Dr. Tony to push this because usually Dr. Tony live, right? We will have like few thousands view, right? To reach the minimum yet. So anyway, I do have one of the question that I think many SME companies, especially those giving credit terms, right, will have this issue. So my question goes like, SME often has a very fast cash flow issue, in and out very fast. We may be showing healthy profit in our book. But, due to the nature nature of the business that we need to give credit terms, right? End of the day, we may have profit in our book. But what happened to those, bad debt or those debts that we would need to collect in probably like 6 months, 12 months or 18 months later. But, the tax that we have to pay to the government is we have to still pay, right? So is there any ways or any tips that you can enlighten us to, loosen our cash flow a little bit and, I think many people will face this issue.
Especially in this moment,
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, okay, well, I'll just share some tips, and see whether this could really help. Pennie, I must say, unfortunately, tax is on accrual basis. When I say on accrual basis, that means you are right. You probably would have made some sale. You probably would have already made some profit, but all these are accrued sales and accrued profit. You have not received the cash, but when it's in your accounts, when it's in your P&L, it becomes your profit. You have to pay tax first. Whether or not your debtor pays you, whether or not they pay you, it's already in your profit. And tax is tax according to whatever profit that you have made, regardless whether you have received payment or not. I mean, that's definitely the tax rules which we cannot change. That's not something that we can change. But now there are things that probably, now I was thinking along the way, that you could do to improve this a little bit, but of course, depending on whether your business model allows you to do that. That is, what if, think about this, what if before you actually are sure, or before you can receive payment, instead of issuing an invoice, can you issue just a pro forma invoice? Or just a quotation, issue a quotation, issue a pro forma one, which is not confirmed. When you receive payment, here you go, this is your final invoice. This is your real invoice. And then you have payment and alongside you have the real invoice. Or a quotation is sent to you, make payment before I give you the invoice. And then, of course, again, you get your payment, then the invoice is out, and that goes into your profit. So then you would not feel, the pain of profit being recognized, but no money received, but you still have to pay tax. I think that could probably help you. Just some small tips from my side. But now, just now, Pennie, you mentioned about bad debt. I know sometimes even if you have done your sale, and then in the end, if you really cannot receive payment, while you can claim bad debt, and bad debt is actually a deduction that can actually reduce your tax. But most people would wait until like 2 years later, 3 years later, before they really call it a bad debt. That's too late. Don't wait too long. Let me tell you, be very consistent when you approach your debtor. Always remind your debtor that, hey, the debt is due, credit term is over. Can you make payment already? And if you find if there's any possibility that the debtor would turn bad, you should do some action. Just take some appropriate actions, like send reminder letters, send some statement of account, or if the amount is huge, probably you want to do a letter of demand as well. And if the debtor still doesn't want to pay you, then you can just, see if it falls in one of the circumstances, which is called the debt is irrecoverable. Now, that's a public ruling. There's a public ruling issued by the Inland Revenue Board telling you in what circumstances would you call a debt irrecoverable. Now, if you fulfill the conditions, straight away, write it off, and make it a bad debt, then you can claim deduction. So one thing you can probably do is every time when it comes to end of year, before you close your account, go one round, look at your debtors, any debtors that you need to write off as bad debt, take the appropriate action, write it off as bad debt, and at the end of the year, you'll find you'll be getting a lot of tax deductions out of all this bad debt. So that's one exercise that people out there can try.
Okay, thank you so much.
So we still keep chasing them the payment, but we write it off and the report and the record, then we just write it off in our account, right?
Well, you can. I mean, as long as if it fulfills the conditions of writing off, you can still write it off. But in the event, let's say, after you have written it off, you got a deduction and your debtor pays you back, well, of course, you have to pay tax for the bad debt recovery. You got to pay tax for that recovery.
Okay, thanks. Very good answer. And very good question from Pennie also.
Yeah, that was a really good question. Thank you, Pennie. You made me learn and write notes today, so fantastic. Thank you so much.
Invoice is a killer.
Yeah. Okay, well, earlier we had a poll that I was not able to vote on. Just checking with the team if we have the results. Can we show the results from the poll results? Or from the poll that Zen? There we go. Okay, this is exactly what I would have answered. Get a good tax agent. Yes.
Yeah, I think I like this answer. Yeah, get a good tax agent to help you for tax audit or tax investigation.
Correct.
But someone still get the good lawyer. 21%.
Yeah, a 5% hire a tax agent. No, I think get a good tax agent is definitely, well, as an answer that I would, I would choose because I'm really terrible with taxes. So this is such a learning process with me. What do you guys think? Do you agree this should be the answer? Pennie, Tony?
This is probably the best answer, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But I really like the audience, actually voting, understand it myself, the second.
That's quite a lot. Yeah. It's the second highest.
Yeah. It actually shows that the audience today are very, they really like to learn. That means they really want to learn more about tax audit, tax investigation, and really want to understand themselves. I think it's good. It's good. I mean, yes, you need a good tax agent, but sometimes don't rely on others too much. You sometimes have to rely on yourself.
That's true.
Simple. You are the entrepreneur. You are the CEO or the bosses in the company. You do your own job, okay? Let professionals people to do their own job, okay? It's not your work, then you don't involve it, So always I'm saying, you find the professional, like you get a good tax agent is most important that you understand it yourself. So of course you can understand it yourself, but the way that you have to get a professional people to do a professional work for you, this is very important. So
yeah, most definitely. I 100% agree with that. Pennie, would you have wanted to learn more for yourself, or do you think hiring a good tax agent is a better deal?
I definitely think that hiring a good tax agent is one thing that you need to do. But before you know that person is a really good tax agent, right? I think probably that we need to know the basic things out of it so that you don't get conned by, so-called professionals.
That's true. That's very, very true. Fantastic. Now, we have quite a few, I think we're 260 viewers right now. Not as much as Tony's Facebook Live during this time, but that's fine. We do have quite a lot of questions, okay? And I am going to pick a question from Victor Wong. Now, Zen, you can answer this, but it's going to be a little bit long, so I'm going to read it out right now, okay? Can you please share some tax guideline or tips or advice for freelancers or casual workers and sole proprietors that sell, like hawker selling prawn mee at night market casually, and also for individual who is out of job and try to look for some income in the internet, like selling things online during this hard time. Okay, so basically a freelancer or casual worker who either sells food or sells things online, okay? For people as such, can you give some tips on how they can file their taxes in the coming year, since their income is from all over the place, basically?
Well, understand. I think, I must agree that freelancers, casual workers, or even sole proprietors, they usually find it difficult, to report their own tax. I mean, even when it comes to calculating how much they actually make, they somehow have no idea, how much they have made. But that's one that's one thing that you really have to do, because if you don't really calculate how much you have made, you practically would not know what is the correct amount of tax that you should be paying. So maybe what I can advise you to do is, now, if you are just let's say a hawker selling prawn mee at night market, well, maybe you can have, say, a book. Yeah, just a small notebook. Every time as you make a sale, just record it down. What sale have I made? And then all this amount of money that you have already received, maybe you can just put it into a designated bank account. Yeah, a designated bank account. Don't mix it up with your personal account, just another bank account of which you use for business purpose. Put all this money into that particular account, and that account is the one that you use for business. And whatever money that goes into the account, that will be your sales, right? If you have not recorded. Of course, the best way is still to record every time when you have made any sale. And this will be actually an evidence or proof that the Inland Revenue Board would take. Yeah, they would actually agree to this, and it would say, since you have done your homework, you actually put all your record down properly. You put all the money you earn in a designated bank account. So we will just take this as your business earning, and then you can use this amount to declare as tax. So even those that are looking for some other income in the internet, like selling things online, well, you also need to do a proper profit and loss account. It doesn't have to be a very complicated one. You sometimes don't even have to get an accountant to help you, but at least every time when you have expenses incur, please record them down. When you have made any sales, record them down and keep all these documents. Yeah, all these documents are very important, because if the Inland Revenue Board wants to verify if you have made such income, you have incurred such expenses, you need to show them all this documentation. Yeah, so that would be my advice, yeah, to this group.
Very, very good advice. Thank you, Zen. Now we have question 2, a lot shorter. The question is simply, how long should a company keep documents for?
This is simple. Yeah, this is very simple. Because the Income Tax Act has said it very clearly. You have to keep it for 7 years. Yeah, you got to keep it for 7 years. So anything not more than 7 years, please keep them. Well, if it's more than 7 years, of course, you have the right to dispose them away. But my advice is, if these documents are permanent documents like important contracts, yeah, or if you have purchased certain assets of which the assets are still in use, well, my advice is keep them, still keep them, yeah. But anything that is just of operating in nature, operating expenditure, well, 7 years is what you need to keep. That's already stated in the Income Tax Act.
Can I just jump in for a question?
Yes, please.
Because nowadays, a lot of companies, they are practicing all these paperless, with all the documentation to be stored, right? So how do you actually view in this kind of practice?
Oh, that's absolutely okay, absolutely fine. The Inland Revenue Board accepts that, because they know now we're going paperless, and all your invoices, receipts, or even whatever documentations that you have, if they are all in soft copy, they're all okay, as long as it is readily to be printed out. Now, in the event if the Inland Revenue Board wants you to print this soft copy out, you must be able to print them. Then that's all right, no problem with that.
Very, very good to know. We have our question 3. This one is not to say intense, but I think it's an interesting one. On what basis would the IRB do a tax investigation into the company?
Okay, I think I did mention the difference between a tax audit and tax investigation. Tax audit is very routine. Yeah, it's more like a random check. Yeah, so don't be alert if you got audited, because it's just a routine thing. But investigation, usually it happens when the Inland Revenue Board suspect that you have evaded tax or underdeclared your income. And usually they will look at risk analysis. They'll look at the trend. What have you been, reporting? If let's give you an example. Let's say if you have been reporting profit, a very good margin every year, all of a sudden in 1 year, your profit margin dropped tremendously, or you run to a loss, whereas everyone else in the same industry is making profit, and you claim you made a loss. Well, that's something very suspicious. Well, they may come, and if there's an insider information. Now, for example, an informer, someone who knows your business, someone who is probably in your business, right, informs the Inland Revenue Board that, hey, this person has evaded certain tax, and they have certain evidence, they would definitely come and investigate. Yeah, so investigation is definitely something that is more serious, yeah, because they must have suspected something, yeah, and the Inland Revenue Board has got something before they come and do the investigation.
Wow, okay, so a snitch, or if your records don't actually add up. Basically, something very, I think it's good to know that, so you understand when you're filing that, you make sure everything adds up. So yeah, I think that's a nice question from the audience. We have Muhammad Khairul Ridwan to all the panelists. So panelists, please join in on this question. Is it good for the company to have tax planning when they do a company's yearly budget, and how frequent should they do this?
Now, I must say tax planning is definitely something good, because if you don't plan properly, you may sometimes find yourself not able to get certain tax incentive of which it is available, because you do not know what kind of incentive is available. And sometimes you probably also want to know what would be the tax deductibility of every expenses that you incur. Because some of the expenses, I always tell my clients, don't always think that if you incur certain expenses, it goes into your profit and loss and you definitely get tax deduction. No, tax rules and accounting rules are very different. Tax treatment and accounting treatment are always different. So you may incur such expense, but you may not get deduction out of that. So you need to understand what kind of expenses would give you tax deduction. And then when you do your planning, when it comes to your yearly budget, look into that, see if you really need to incur such expenses where it is not tax deductible. And if you really need to, then, take that into account, incorporate that into account to see what would be the estimated tax payable that you need to pay. Because after all, company will need to estimate the tax in advance and start paying installment. And if you ask me how frequent, at least once a year, I would say at least once a year. But if you can do it like more frequent, half a year, every quarter, if you can do every quarter, with your tax agent, that would be great.
Fantastic. Well, Tony, have you had experience with this? What do you think? Is it good for a company to have tax planning when doing annual budgeting?
Yeah, it's a very good question that we need to plan it early when we are
doing. Do you plan it early?
Yes, of course. So we are entrepreneurs and a businessman. We always aim for the profit, right? So when you're doing business, it's very simple for me. 1 + 1 is 2. How many you spend, what kind of material you spend, and how much profit you have, okay? So at the end, estimation, end of the year, how much we're going to target to earn from that. So we need to be a responsibility entrepreneurs or businessmen. We need to pay tax. So we must assume like this year we profit 1 million, so okay. Next year our target 1 point something million, right? We have to increase a little bit every year, right? So we have to plan for the tax to pay for the tax also. So before you pay for tax, the first thing that you must know how to make profit first, right? If you cannot make profit, how do you going to pay for the tax? But if you are a profitable company, you can make a lot of profit. You know how to set your budget, maximize your profit. Then what for? You scared for pay for the tax. Once you pay tax, your freedoms can enjoy your less money to buy luxury car, buy aeroplane, then go travel, or buy luxury bag, whatever you want, right? So this is what we mentioned though. As an entrepreneur, you have to plan everything, your target, your yearly target, okay? Of course, you have to pay for the tax. Don't wait for they come for you, then only you want to pay, then there should be very trouble on that, Then you'll get fined double and 100% and more than that you have to pay, okay?
Yeah. So definitely, I know you agree with that. And Pennie, I'm assuming you do as well.
For us as a startup, right, I would suggest that you need to really look into what kind of industry, especially for startup, right? Their growth can be vary from year to year. As the early startup, it may be like 1-2 years, you may still be making loss and things like that. But if you manage to get it right, at the year 3 onwards, or some of the company, like few months later, they actually have a very super high growth. They can actually have a growth of 5, 10, 20 times, some even claim like don't know how many times. So I think that for a startup, right, for me, I actually plan it in a half-yearly basis to actually cross-check our growth and things like that in order for us to plan for the taxation and all. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for your thoughts. Now we have a question to Zen specifically. As you were talking about the IRB, I don't know if this is from the same person or not, but as you were talking about the IRB, digging further into documents, they say that to our knowledge, we need to keep the history accounting for 7 years only. What happens if IRB is asking for records beyond the 7 years and they don't have any?
Okay. Now, the Income Tax Act says you only have to keep for 7 years. But just one thing that I have to remind everyone, even though the Act says you have to keep for 7 years, it's not stopping the Inland Revenue Board to investigate more than 7 years. Now, that's one thing you have to know. Yeah, investigation can take more than 7 years. It can go across, 10 years, 15 years, but that is when, the Inland Revenue Board has solid evidence. So if the Inland Revenue Board come and do an audit, it's not more than 7 years, it's only maximum 5 years. And if they ask you for anything that's more than 7 years, well, you can just tell them, no, the act doesn't require me to keep anything more than 7 years, so I don't have to give it to you. Yeah. But if they come to do an investigation of which they can do more than 7 years, then you do not have the document. Well, of course, you are not at fault. You're not at fault. It's not an offense to not have the document, because most of the time, the Inland Revenue would come in with certain evidence, with certain proof before they want to investigate more than that. Yeah, but still, I would advise important documentation like contract, like purchase of assets of which you're still using, like machineries that you're still using. Keep them because things are still with you. Keep all these documents in case, if the IRB really wants something for more than 7 years, even though you have the right not to give, but if you have them, that'll be very useful, coming to defending your tax audit or tax investigation process.
I think the question is, if they don't have the 7 years document, like beyond 7 years, what will happen to the company?
But I make
no problem at all, because you have all your rights not to keep more than 7 years.
Yeah, some SME will have a incident or accident in fire case in the office during investigation. I don't know why.
Okay. No comment on that. I'll move on to the next question. This one is specifically for Dato Tony and from James here. Good afternoon, Dato. Can we skip from paying tax during pandemic? Because it's FNCO as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you can skip for pandemic. But of course, during pandemic, I knew that most of my friends and some of my members, okay, they really dropped a lot their profits and their business. So some of them dropped 50% or most of them more than 50%. So I think no need to skip everything. You just, if you got make profit, then you pay lah. If no make profit, how to pay, right? So during pandemic, I think the government also understand that not only you facing the same thing that you no need to skip on the tax, but you have to report everything accordingly. But a lot of people are not able to pay tax, or maybe not profit in this 1-2 years. I can say that most of SME, I think more than 50% and above, maybe lost money. So less than 30% is almost break even or little bit profit, but only less than 10% that a company like those essential product lah, logistic lah, doing mask lah, or doing this group, they grow a lot the business, especially those diversified to internet, online services, online marketing. They also grow 3 times, 10 times. Some my growing more than 10 times. So now he raised capital, is very strong, buy a lot of buildings and increase a lot of machinery, everything. So only less than few percent in this pandemic time. But we cannot say we skip for the pay tax lah. But if we really cannot make profit, then no choice. You have to report accordingly. Then you no need to pay tax. But last year you have installment, maybe you can claim back, right? So this is what I know lah. Thank you. Hope I got answer your question.
I think that's a brilliant answer. I think that's really great. And at the end of the day, it's always safe to provide the book. And if, like you said, if you didn't make any money, then there's nothing to pay. So as long as you declare, you're all good. All right, we have...
Open your pocket, nothing. Just open pocket. No money.
Nothing. We have a few more questions. Let's move on to next one for Zen. And of course, Pennie and Tony, feel free to jump in. This question, jump in based on your experience, really. Now, Mr. Abu has asked Zen, is it normal for LHDN to perform tax audits in the same financial year after they have already performed it? So meaning more than once.
All right. Well, I must say it's not normal. It's not normal. Usually, if they have done an audit on one financial year, and if they've closed the case, most of the time they will not come back to the same financial year. Well, they may come back to your company. They may still audit your company in future, but for other financial years. Now, but why would they come back, to the same year? Well, there are a couple of different reasons. One reason could be when they closed the case, when they first audited, and in one particular year, they probably miss out certain things. They overlook certain things, and they only discover it later. But remember, they have all their rights. Yeah, IRB have all the rights to come back and open back the case, yeah, and re-audit it. Right? So you can't stop them from doing that. Of course, the other reason could be, they have obtained other information, maybe from some third party, maybe your supplier, your customer, and got to know that there is something which they have overlooked, they did not actually discover during their first audit. And now they found out, hey, this is quite significant, it's quite material. So I would like to go back and, open the case again. So I would say it's not common, but it's doable. It's something within the Inland Revenue Board's right to do so.
Not a big surprise, basically. Not necessarily a big surprise. Okay. We actually have time only for one final question from the audience. Pisha has asked to all the panelists, and especially for those who have experience with this, bad debts and action has been taken. Must I engage a lawyer to demonstrate action taken, or can I just call them myself? How can I document this if I am doing this myself?
Okay. Now, maybe just let me answer first. Yeah. So
yes, please.
What I have advised everyone, before we want to claim your bad debt tax deduction, is to do some appropriate action, to take some appropriate action. Of course, the best way is to take legal action, send a letter of demand, get a lawyer to do that. But if you ask me, is that a must? Is that a must to do so? It all depends on the value of the debt. If you tell me that this person is owing you a couple of hundred ringgit, well, why do you want to get a lawyer, and to do all this? Right? It's just a couple of hundred. But if it's a few thousand, well, you don't want to just call them and say, hey, you owe me a few thousand and now you're not paying me, so I'm just writing it off. I mean, is this like the full attempt already? So it all comes back to what is the amount. So if you ask me, if you are doing it on your own, please make sure you have documents. By just making a phone call, I would say it's not good enough. At least send a reminder letter, send a statement of account, use registered post if you can, use registered post or courier if you can, to show that you have done that action. That would be good enough for you to tell the Inland Revenue Board, I have done my appropriate action, and now this debt is really irrecoverable, hence I'm writing it off and I'm claiming the tax deduction for bad debt. So you must have documentation to, prove all the actions that you have taken.
Pennie, Tony, have you ever had to, resort to that in your business experience?
So far, I don't have.
That's good. Thank goodness for that. Pennie, I hope not as well. Oh no!
Our case is very small, so end of the day, we issue a couple of demands letter. Then, of course, we do hire a lawyer. Then after that, we actually settle off, by installment paying off. So yeah, try to talk to them and understand their situation. Unless they really run away, like they want to pick up phone calls and things like that, then you may need to really take the legal side of the thing. Otherwise, then you can probably just try to recover yourself. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you, guys. And thank you for everyone watching. I love the interaction from the audience to our guest speakers as we approach the end of our first episode. Let's start off with Tony. Tony, tell me, what is your personal takeaway from today's session, our very first session?
Yeah, I'm very happy that today's having this section with everyone here. So, and also I learned a lot from Jan. Even he's look very smart and very young. So a very knowledgeable guy. I tell you, a lot of tax knowledge in his mind. Okay, thanks for sharing with us during this moment. I think now all the SME and Malaysian people are really facing a big challenge, and some of them are very suffer. But as what I'm saying, never give up. Okay, watching our live more. Okay, you will learn more. And also thank you YYC to provide more information to all the Malaysians SME. So I hope Malaysia Guinea will be invite us more to join these events and live events. So, and also thank you to all the speakers and sharing about your knowledge, everything to all the members in this moment. So hope everyone to share this live to all of your friends to know more about that. Okay, so I think currently everyone is very free, stay at home. So work at home, work from home. So I think you can learn a lot of knowledge about that also. So thank you very much, and happy to join this evening's live section. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And Pennie, how about you? What do you think of our first session today?
I think this is a very fruitful session, being a basic person who knows so much about tax and audit. I think the biggest takeaway that I have today would be prepare so much in advance, get yourself, learn a lot from all the gurus, and then don't afraid of paying tax. Paying tax means you're making money.
Yes, you're making money.
That is
And of course, during this pandemic, a lot of people would have a very negative thoughts and very worried about situations. So I just want to say that, stay positive. What doesn't kill us make us stronger. Yeah.
Never give up.
Yeah.
most definitely. Now to our tax guru, Zen, what would you sum up from today's session and the poll, everything? Sum up today's session in your words.
Yeah, so maybe I will just repeat what I had mentioned earlier when we first started. Never be afraid and never be panicked. When you receive any tax audit letter or tax investigation letter, because if you know you have done things right, there's nothing to be afraid of. Of course, if you know you're not sure, whether you have done everything correctly or not, or if you're not sure what would be the correct tax treatment, always find a professional, or increase your own knowledge when it comes to tax, so that you at least know what is wrong, what is right, what is the correct treatment. That is very, very important, because tax is something that you really cannot avoid. I mean, if you make money, you have to pay, but you want to pay the correct amount. You want to pay any cent more, you don't want to pay any cent less. Yeah, you want to pay just the right amount, so that you fulfill your duty as a citizen, but at the same time, you want to be most tax efficient. Now, maybe I'll just say, I know a lot of people out there would always say, hey, saying that is easy, to know the tax advice, to get the tax advice, to get the tax knowledge, saying that is easy, but where do I get that? How do I get tax advice? How do I get tax knowledge? Sometimes even if I ask my accountant, they may not be very well versed. So you know what? In YYC, we have actually just started this thing called Tax Pod, Tax Professionals on Demand. Now, what is this Tax Professionals on Demand, right? In short, Tax Pod, yeah. It's actually a platform where people can access decades of our tax saving knowledge. Yes, in this tax pod, you can look into all the videos that we have, to learn more about how you can save your tax, what kind of deductions that you can take advantage of so that you'll be paying tax most efficiently. Now, and the good news here for all the Malaysia Kini viewers right now is that we have just launched it. Because we've just launched it, we have a special offer. We have a special offer right now for all the Malaysian Kini viewers right now for this episode. What you have to do is just go to the comment box, just go to the chat box, look at the link. Yeah, there's a link that we have posted up. Just click that to register your interest. You will be able to get the special offer, the special launching offer that we have exclusively for you because you are watching our episode today. All right, so please do that.
I'm going to do that right after this ends. Thank you so much, Zen. And thank you to our speakers for this enlightening discussion. Now, viewers, beloved speakers, this marks the end of our very first series. I do hope that you found this informative, and I do hope that our viewers watching, that you really enjoyed this series, because there's more to come. We have 2 more to come. See you all on the second episode of Tax Made Easy, which will be live 2 weeks from now on the 2nd of July with me again, your host, Amanda Andrea. Until then, do take care and stay safe. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
YYC 超越集团成立于1974年，由叶想发、陈开荣夫妇携手创办。成立时的办公室坐落于吉隆坡铺路地区。在2018年初 ，YYC 总部正式搬迁到该区一栋5层楼高的大楼，并拥有超过800名员工。目前 ，YYC 在马来西亚的分行遍布在吉隆坡、雪兰莪、槟城和柔佛。2019年也扩展至新加坡。YYC 的经营理念和业绩表现，更被新加坡华侨银行 OCBC Bank 所赏识，注资成为策略伙伴。
为了把 YYC 推上另外一个高峰，我选择不再守，而是转型。对我来讲，转型就是不断的学习，不断的创新，带更好的元素进来自己的公司，然后把公司做得更好、更强。
YYC 集团提供一站式的专业服务，包括会计、税务、审计、商学院、 商业咨询等等。通过创新改革，我们成功培训了超过10万名企业家，并且获得各界企业家的认同。如今更拥有超过2万名客户。
YYC 不是只是一个会计公司，我们是一个企业医生。Your success is our success.
Yes, you